In the hush before the breaking of morning, I come before you, Lord, with the weary residue of yesterday's tempests, still lingering in the marrow of my bones. Yet I gather these fragments of unrest and lay them tenderly at your altar, for I know you are my steadfast refuge, even as the winds rattle the trembling windows of my heart. As the first ligaments of light pull the darkness from the corners of my soul, I turn my inner gaze toward your presence, seeking the shelter of your wings, while the ghost of storm and threat whispers through the silent corridors of this dawning hour. Let the fury of turmoil wage outside these walls, for I confess that fear is all too eager to lay siege to the stronghold of my mind. And yet here in prayer I find you remain unmoved, a rock whose shadow is long and whose strength carries through shifting seasons. I know every breaking wave that surges against my waist, every unseen current that could pull me beneath the waters, yet I trust that you, O shepherd of my valley, set the horizon for my soul not at the edge of chaos, but at the threshold of your peace. Even when night still lingers behind my eyes, even when I wake to clouds that mar the sunrise, I know your mercy bids me rise as surely as the dew upon the blades and the sun upon the path. You are the flame at the center of the storm, the quiet stillness beneath the torrent, and I gather my scattered spirit, so that I may dwell beneath your anointing, letting the oil of your presence flow over my burdens, and over every silent cry I utter into the dawn. Let me in these first sacred moments refuse entry to the flood of noise pounding at the gates of my heart, for this is the hour when your sanctuary stretches wide, and your strong tower stands ready to swallow all accusation and dread. We trust you here, Lord, not as those grasping at empty hope, but as children who have learned the secret comfort of your shadow, the knowledge that within your dwelling no weapon of confusion or despair may cross the threshold. All around the world stirs with its announcements of chaos, but you are the voice that stills the storm and calls forth the morning. So I surrender my longing for control and let peace become my horizon. May the light of your face rise above the thunder and the trembling, and may I and all who seek your covering in this hour find that every tempest is but the prelude to a deeper dwelling, a place where your peace endures beyond the breaking waves, and where the soul at last begins to rest. Lord, I come before you with the trembling confession that the winds of worry and the distant roll of thunder threaten to rise within me, for every dawn brings its own shadows, its own clamor of need, and sorrow its subtle wilderness pressing close against the walls of my dwelling. I name the storm not from a place of defeat, but from a posture of trust, knowing that bringing my unrest out from darkness into the gentle light of your presence is the beginning of deliverance. For you do not despise the honesty of your children, but draw near to the broken in heart and those fainting beneath the heaviness of unseen battles. Let me now find the courage to speak each fear, those that swirl in hidden valleys, those that flicker at the edge of every new day, those unyielding burdens that refuse to depart, so that I might not carry them alone, but yield their weight into your hands, O strong tower, for you invite all who are weary to enter your courts and abide beneath the safety of your wings. If you are weary this morning, if you feel the tumult at your gate, come into this petition with me, for together we seek the ancient sanctuary where storms cannot breach the boundary of your peace, and where we are shielded not by our own strivings, but by the everlasting arms that gird the horizon. Even as the deluge gathers and the anxiety within our hearts would press us into corners of isolation, I cling to the promise that you are our refuge, ever present and unwavering, unmoved by the tempests that shake the foundations of mortal life. We trust you as the rock under our feet when all else is shifting sand and uncertain passage. And in the cool shadow of your presence, I gather every restless thought, every quiver of anxiety, every memory shaped by loss or fear, placing them one by one into your sanctuary, so that I might stand renewed and rooted beside the still waters of your assurance. Even when the night has been long, and the storm yet rages, I believe you hear the silent cry that echoes through the halls of my soul, that you attend to every trembling voice lifted toward your holy dwelling. You are the fortress that cannot be shaken, the light that breaks through the heaviest clouds, and the faithful shepherd who leads us through the valley to green pastures of peace. Let the hush descend as I rest in your protection, for when I am anchored in your refuge, no storm, however fierce, can undo the work of your steadfast love. Lord, as I cross the threshold of early gloom and breathe the gentle hush that precedes the rising of the sun, let my spirit awaken to the mystery of your nearness. For I sense that your holy presence lingers in the fragile stillness where night and morning entwine. I come before you in this secret hour when the world yet slumbers, and the hush is heavy, seeking not the noise and striving of the day, but the hallowed whispers that carry the breath of your spirit, speaking softly into the caverns of my longing heart. Let me be woven into the quiet tapestry of your sanctuary, for I know your sanctuary is not made by mortal hands, but is formed in the shadow of your wings, where holy fire burns low and steady, inviting the weary to rest and be renewed beneath the fold of sacred silence. If you feel distant from peace, let this morning be your invitation to draw near, for even when shadows cloak the path and the light is not yet seen, your voice resounds as a gentle stirring within, whispering hope upon the embers of yesterday's faith. I know you are the lamp that does not fail, the anointing that soothes the deep ache, the presence that hovers upon waters before creation, inviting order and meaning where only formlessness threatened to reign. We trust you, Lord, to meet us as we are, not with grand pronouncement nor blinding vision, but in the gentle breathing of your spirit. A soft wind passing over the still waters, a peace that does not demand to be earned, but is poured out in consecrated quiet. Let the clamor of the world grow dim as I press into the solitude where your presence becomes the only true reality, where burdens dissolve like mist before your dawn, and where the soul, stripped of pretense and fear, finds its place in the lowliness of worship. Let me and all who seek your face in these muted hours become attentive to the sacred whispers, reminders that you have not abandoned, that your nearness is as sure as the dawn. Lord, dwell with us here as morning stretches her first golden thread across the sky, and let the silence be filled with the promise of your abiding, so that the heart learns to rest in the simple sufficiency of your presence. In the beginning darkness, in the waiting silence, in the space between every breath you are here and here, I surrender all striving to the shelter of your hallowed communion. Lord, amidst the endless swirl of demands and voices clamoring at the edge of my dawn, I come before you with open hands and a soul longing for rest, for I know that true peace is not the absence of storm, but the stillness you provide at the center of every whirlwind swirling with uncertainty and care. Let me learn the holy art of quiet trust, where in the shadow of your wings I may find sanctuary from all striving, and where the discipline of surrender teaches me to lay down the burden of my own understanding, and instead anchor my confidence in your steadfast presence. Even when the world surges with unrest, and the winds howl their threats against my heart, I trust in your wordless assurance, for you are the strong tower unmoved by adversity, the silent rock surrounded by the storm's fury, and the gentle keeper who leads me to waters that run deep and clear beneath the turbulence. If your spirit, O listener, finds itself swept along by anxiety or fear, let us together consecrate this moment as a holy pause, a breath drawn beneath the almighty shadow where striving and despair finally lose their dominion, and the discipline of waiting becomes the birthplace of holy courage. I know that my deliverance will not come by the force of my will, nor by the clamor of my voice, but by the quiet confidence that waits expectantly even as the fire rages, and the valley remains shrouded in the mysteries of your timing. Even when all around me trembles, I am learning that your abiding presence becomes the anchor for my soul, and that in the center of the tempest, I can discover the hidden wellspring of your peace. Lord, grant that I might dwell in this discipline, not as a fleeting visitor, on the rock of your faithfulness, for every morning brings both new chaos and new mercies, and every wilderness holds the promise of still waters on the other side. So I rest sheltered beneath your wings, waiting for the calm that only your spirit can bring. And as I quiet my restless thoughts before your throne, I affirm that your peace endures beyond the whirlwind, your light shines steadfast in the eye of the storm, and my hope is secure in you alone. Lord, as the press of daily tumult advances upon the gates of my waking hours, and the rush of ceaseless demands would drive me from sanctuary to shadow, let me remember that your strong tower stands wide, and steadfast its breadth, sheltering all who run unto its holy walls. I come before you with the hush of dawn clinging to my skin, seeking not the fleeting refuge of my own resolve, but the enduring safety promised in your presence where confusion and chaos cannot breach the watchful doors. I know you are the stronghold that the world cannot shake, the enduring dwelling raised high above flood and flame, where burdens are set down, and souls are harbored from all that would threaten their tender peace. Even when my path leads through territory marked by noise and striving, I trust that within your courts the tumult is hushed, and the air is thick with the restorative oil of your anointing, for your sanctuary is broad, and your mercy knows no boundary. We trust you, Lord, to be our sanctuary in every hour, both when shadows crowd our steps and when light breaks through the clouds with gentle blessing, for the secret of your tower is its open gates and its capacity to gather the scattered, the weary, and those weighed down by cares unspoken. Let me and all who step into this morning's labor find that your name is the answer to every striving, and your presence the answer to every longing, so that even among countless responsibilities our inner life may remain sheltered, our hope untouched by anxiety's fire. Like the cool stone walls of an ancient fortress, your promises encircle our hearts, defending us from despair and giving us strength to walk forward upright and unafraid. If you are pressed upon by worries that rise as a flood, know this: there is breadth and welcome in the sanctuary of the Lord, a place where no tidal surge can reach and peace flows as a living stream. Let the wind howl and the storm rail beyond the stronghold, for within these sacred walls we are safe and we are home. In this quiet assurance I find my peace, not by might nor wisdom, but by dwelling in the shelter you provide now and always. Lord, I come before you in the unspoiled hush of this morning yearning, for the touch that only your anointing oil can impart, for the balm of your restoration flows not as the world gives, but as streams from the inexhaustible heart of your loving kindness and mercy. Even as I wake with the ache of yesterday's burdens gathered upon my shoulders, and the drought of hope reaching into dry places, within let me embrace the sufficiency that pours forth from your hand. a consecrating oil that sanctifies my weary thoughts and brings new vigor to every fragile place. I know that you are not far off in my moments of need, but that you stand beside me as the shepherd who binds up the broken, as the healer who anoints the wounded head and calls forth beauty where ashes once reigned. Even when my spirit seems faint and the journey ahead appears long, I trust that your spirit will be my portion, and your presence the rich supply that never runs dry, for your grace seeps into the very sinews of my soul and restores what anxiety and striving would wither away. We trust you now, Lord, to pour out the oil of gladness over those bowed in mourning, to drench us in peace that surpasses all urgency, and to crown us with renewed strength for every step upon the wilderness path. Let this morning be the sacred threshold where I do not simply endure or strive, but receive and rejoice, arms lifted to receive what only your compassion can bestow, and heart rendered soft beneath the handiwork of your Spirit. I know the world is pressing at the door, yet you, O Lord, prepare a table before me. And with every drop of your anointing oil upon my life, you restore lost clarity, refine hope, and call forth courage I thought was long spent. Even when my cup feels empty and my light seems dimmed, you replenish out of your abundance, leading me not only beside still waters, but deep into the dwelling of your nearness, where all that is wounded is mended, and all that is barren blooms again. If your soul wakes longing for healing or clarity or peace, let us together stand open before the Spirit's gentle outpouring, trusting that what the world cannot restore, the hand of the Lord shall heal. Lord, let every heart anointed beneath your mercy this morning rise renewed, and radiant oil glimmering like dawn upon the brow, and let us walk forward knowing we are held strengthened and entirely made new within your loving embrace. Lord, I come before you with the long shadows of the valley before my weary eyes, and the faint glow of your promises rising like hope upon the distant ridge, for you are the one who supplies light when all earthly wisdom grows dim, and whose fire endures long after the sun has fled, and the path is hemmed by darkness. I know the journey of faith must often wind through the unseen terrain, where each step is an act of perseverance, and the unknown presses close. Yet in that wild landscape, you become my steadfast guide. Your presence a lantern to my feet, and your whispered encouragement the fire that warms my trembling soul. Even when the valley looms deep with uncertainty, and each hour is stretched by trial or waiting, I trust that you encamp around the vulnerable, that your rod and your staff bear not only comfort, but anointing for endurance through each season of night and wandering. Let me remember, Lord, that in the wilderness you led your people by pillars of fire and by the radiance of cloud, and so even in this present valley, you will be to me as light in day and fire by night, teaching my soul to lean not upon what can be seen, but upon the surety of your unfailing presence. If you are journeying today through shadows or grappling with unseen burdens, let us hold fast together to the faith that even in the absence of clarity, the Lord makes a path through the thicket, a clear way through every darkness that seeks to obscure hope. We trust you to go before and behind a fortress and a flame hemming us in with the faithfulness that cannot be extinguished by fear or night. Even when my strength falters, even when I strain to see beyond the next bend, you are the same deliverer whose light cannot be quenched, and whose fire rekindles resolve from the ashes of fatigue. So I lift my soul into the hush of your everlasting care eyes, fixed on the gentle glow that guides from shadow to pasture, from night to the first light of peace. Lord, let perseverance be born anew in the hush of this morning, and may your guiding flame burn ever brighter, until the valley gives way to the open fields of your steadfast love. Lord, I come before you bearing not only the quiet ache of my own need, but with my heart tendered and stretched wide on behalf of those who wander beneath heavy shadows, those whose steps have faltered beneath sorrow or fatigue, whose eyes have forgotten the promise of daybreak. In the hush of your presence, I name these beloved ones, whether near or far spoken or unspoken, asking that you would draw them by cords of loving kindness from the chill of shadow into the enduring warmth of your shelter. For I know your mercy is like a river that seeks every wounded valley, every parched wilderness flowing beneath the surface, and making a way where there seemed none. You are the refuge not just for the strong, but for the faltering, for you leave the 99 to gather the lost unto your dwelling. And in your strong tower the anxious heart finds acceptance, and the restless spirit is made whole. If you feel yourself weary this morning, entangled in the brambles of loss or confusion, I speak your name into the sanctuary of the Most High, trusting that your presence will be a shield about you, that your peace will enfold you as softly as dew upon scorched ground, bringing restoration where despair has sown its seeds. Even when the shadows lengthen or the wilderness presses close, I trust that your voice, Lord, will resound as a beacon, calling us out from fear and into safety, from aimless wandering to the anchored hope of your steadfast embrace. We trust you to be the light in another's valley, the oil upon the head of the broken, and the gentle shepherd who leads by hidden paths to still waters none have seen before. Let every cry, every silent plea ascend as incense, and find gracious welcome in your courts, for you delight to gather your children home, binding up the wounded, redressing the soul's affliction, and offering rest that no storm can undo. So let our prayers rise as a canopy of protection over the vulnerable, and the wandering faith woven strong as sheltering branches in a mighty wood, until those who sit in shadow awaken in your morning and find themselves cradled at last in the peace of your dwelling. Lord, I come before you at the edge of this dawn, when the weight of yesterday still lingers as a shadow upon my soul, yet beneath the sweep of your shepherd's staff, I find the courage to surrender each striving and let go of the anxious need to forge my own path. I trust that you, O keeper of every wandering heart, are present in each silent hour, and every trembling confession waiting to lead me from the bramble of unrest into the meadow, where still waters run deep and peace flows without burden or end. Even when the valley seems unyielding, even when my spirit is embattled by the memory of sorrow or the hunger for clarity, I know your voice calls gently through the tangle of uncertainties, bidding me come and rest. Not as one who must achieve to be loved, but as a beloved who may sit quietly at your feet and be restored. Let me, Lord, release my worries as sheep wander from the thicket into the open field, for you are the refuge, whose rod and staff comfort beyond the sting of each present affliction, and whose guidance has led generations to dwell in safety, not their own. We trust you, shepherd of our souls, to gather the scattered, to soothe the wounds that others cannot see, to usher us beside still waters where shadows flee, and the air is fragrant with your renewing presence. Even as we yield the willful heart and lay down the burdens that weary the bones, may the quiet assurance of your nearness become the invitation to cease striving and simply abide beneath the warmth of your gaze. In this place of surrender, peace descends. As gentle rain, salvation sings as a hidden wellspring, and every anxious thought is calmed beneath your watchful eye. Though storms may threaten on every horizon, and the wilderness lie just beyond the sheltering hills, I trust that here and now beneath your staff, And before the waters that mirror heaven's calm my soul is home at last hushed and whole in your unfailing love. Lord, as I rise from the sanctuary of early prayer and step forth into a world brimming with clamor and unknowns, let peace be the first word I carry upon my lips, and the silent anthem that steadies the cadence of my soul, for I know you are the wellspring from which calm and strength overflow the strong tower that hems my path with mercy before a single arrow of chaos can fly. I come before you now having lingered beneath your wings and tasted the stillness that no storm may undo. And I ask that the gift you have poured into my spirit this hour would linger as a fragrance, a gentle promise, stretching from waking till the far edge of dusk. Let me move among the concerns and burdens of this day, not as one frantic for answers or restless for control, but as one who bears the benediction of your presence, a quiet river winding through every valley, and a gentle fire lighting every night-darkened road. We trust you, Lord, with each step set upon untested earth, and together, we ask that you would anoint the coming hours with serenity that outlives confusion, with vision that cuts through shadow, and with steadfast grace that endures even the most unyielding trial. Even when the world presses with urgency or plagues the heart with uncertainty, I remember that your counsel is a shield, and your nearness the fortress that encircles my days. For you have declared rest for the weary and hope for the troubled. And I anchor my expectancy not in the shifting winds, but in the deep foundation of your faithfulness. Lord, let me become a dwelling place of your peace, that others might find shelter in my words and safety in my presence, as I move not only for myself, but as an emissary of the still waters into which you have led my soul. As the light grows and the world awakens beyond these sacred moments, I release all striving and offer this day as an offering, trusting that what you have begun in stillness, you will magnify in the fullness of your providence. Let your peace move before me as a herald and remain behind me as a rear guard. Let it be the seal upon my thoughts, the answer to every trouble, the quiet song that guides my heart home. May this word rest in your spirit today, and may every place your feet touch be hallowed by the presence and peace of the Lord.